Everybody, Ben for the Bennett Podcast, and welcome to Top 5 Friday. On a Friday, we get together and we have a look at the top 5, something normally to do with Blood Bowl. Now, it's a bit quiet in the world of Blood Bowl at the moment as we all prepare for the new edition to land at some point this year. And the new box set has got two very beautiful teams from Games Workshop. It's got the Tomb Kings and it's got the Bretonnians. But what if you fancy a Tomb King team, but the Games Workshop one doesn't tickle your fancy, or you kind of just want to get a team right now? I thought we'd refresh the top 5 Tomb Kings list so that we can have a look at what the great alternative sculpts are available for this team right now. So, top 5 Tomb Kings. Alright, coming in at number 5, we've got a friend of ours and a pretty trusted sculptor. It's Ugni. So the Sand Kings are Ugni's take on the Tomb King roster. Now, I don't know if I actually got round to doing a print pitch for this team. It kind of dropped during a busy period. Now, Ugni. We love Ugni. Do I have Ugni sculpts here? No, I tidied. Right, so Ugni, whether he's doing Blood Bowl stuff or sci-fi stuff, the sculpts are always fantastic. The supports are just premium and you get everything you need. So Ugni's Tomb King team, and he's crushed it here. So you've got the classic Ugni sculpt where there's a lot of texture. Okay, this is a great thing about his teams. There's always a lot of texture there, so it's contrast, just absolutely perfect for contrast. So the team, you get 4 of the Tomb Kings, 4 of the Tomb Guardians, sorry, you get 2 throwers without the helmets, you get 2 blitzers with kind of like the fan helmets there, and then you get all of your linemen too. Now, this is the great thing about the way Games Workshop have brought Tomb Kings back, is the roster doesn't change. So if you want to get a Tomb Kings team and you don't fancy waiting for the Games Workshop one, you can go right now and get an Ugni team. Now, the only stylistic choice, he's done a great job getting character into skeleton faces, and this is something that I think is so important for Blood Bowl, because Blood Bowl's a little bit cartoony anyway. You can kind of pull off that exaggerated stuff where you get a little bit more emotion out of a skeleton. Like, it's very Army of Darkness. We're going to see a couple of those on this list. But he's gone a bit dark and scary with the eyes for the Tomb Guardians, and the fact that they're kind of hulked over, it makes them look like they were kind of undead trolls, that there was a difference to their build. Then they're not just like big dudes, they're not just tall, they're not just large. These guys are different, and I think that makes them really imposing on the pitch. So number 5 for me is the Sand Kings from Ugni. Okay, coming in at number 4, it is a Tomb King team that was part of another team that was part of another team. Basically, a guy playing a guy playing another guy. And it is the Griebo Unrenaissance team. Now, they brought this team back. They re-upped it. They did some beautiful sculpts. And then they also did an Ancient Team bundle. Let's see if we can zoom in on this. No, right. Let's tab and zoom in on this instead. Right, so their Unrenaissance team had different options, and this was a Kickstarter, and I don't think it's out properly yet, but keep your eye out for it. Now, we got some previews of these models, and they were stunning. I'll put the link somewhere here so that you can go and check it out if you want to. But they did an Ancient Team bundle, which had 4 mummies, 2 whites, 2 throwers, and 8 skeletons. So a full-on whack of 16 players, and it's Griebo, right? So they had all the extras on there as well. Now, this team is not your typical kind of ancient Egypt theme. This was Undead Bretonnia. Oh my god, this would be perfect for this edition. Yeah, kind of Undead Bretonnia / Undead Empire. It was absolutely bang on. There's a lot of character in their skeletons. I mean, I was really smitten by the quality of the sculpts and the quality of the production for these models. Absolutely brilliant. Here are your throwers with the extra birds on. They've got the throwy pieces. You've got a whole bunch of line skeletons doing some really interesting things. And then you've got these absolute hulking Tomb Guardians, which I don't even know what they are. They're like halfway between like a grave titan and an undead mummy. Not an undead mummy, an undead ogre. It's that kind of size. And talk about presence on the pitch, this team has it in droves. Like, I was well impressed with this. But for me, the cool thing you get to do here is you get to run, let's move our face down here so we can show off this blitzer. You get to run these whites as your blitzers for the team. And the fact they've got all these ghostly flames means that you've got this dark, dingy assortment of 4 giant players. You've got a whole bunch of gribbly skeletons and birds throwing the ball, and then you've got these 2 blitzers that you can do some proper John Blanche, brown and metal, and then have the flames really pop, which means I think this would be a really striking team. And the great thing about this is you can kind of buddy it up and pick up the parts you need to make it an undead team or a necromantic team as well, and then you're kind of just covered for all the undead stuff, which is really good. So number 4 for me is Griebo. Number 3, as we just talked about having a gribbly dark team with some very potent ghosty bits sticking out of it, this is one of my favorites. It's one of my all-time favorites, actually. This is Vortis miniatures. Now, this Kickstarter came out a couple of years ago, and you can pick it up off their website now for a pretty decent amount. I think it's about 60 quid. We'll have a look in a second for the whole team. Now, this was the Death King's Guardians team, and if you followed the channel for a while, you'll remember that this is the team that came with cartoony, characterful pieces, and then these cool ghostly bits, these cool ghost additions that were coming out of and floating around the Tomb Guardians that made the team super interesting, super dynamic. Now, I loved the cartoony sculpts here. Some of these skeletons, they are just so much fun. But the thing that shines for me was the souls coming out of the Tomb Guardians. It just made it super, super, super interesting. And the Kickstarter did really well. And they had a whole bunch of extra sculpts and extra bits going for it. But we want to kind of look at the core. Look at that, though. This I loved. Like I said, you've got this cartoony element that takes the Tomb King's vibe and just makes it look like a Saturday morning cartoon, which... yeah, that does make me happy. Blood Bowl has a good relationship with Saturday morning cartoon vibe. It just fits really nicely. It's a game that doesn't take itself too seriously, so you can kind of have great sculpts like this. But look at the expressions on the undead faces. But then they had these cool resin bits that didn't even need to be painted. You could paint them, obviously, but they didn't need to be painted. So you kind of just painted the model and you glued on this semi-transparent resin, and it just made those players shine as something really cool and really interesting. So I really liked it. And even when it came to the bog standard skeleton sculpts, like, they had really cool features that make them look very dynamic for just a skull. So I love the Vortis team. I've got it in the cupboard somewhere, and at some point I will break it out because it's a lot of fun. So number 3 for me, Vortis. Okay, number 2 on the list. This is another all-timer, I think, because it is a sculpted team that just looks a lot of fun to paint. In fact, Milton has been painting this team very recently, and it is the Realm of Paths Tomb Undead team. And I love this. Again, we've talked about the fact that you've got some skeleton sculpts there, and where Blood Bowl fits is you can have a bit of cartoony, you can have a bit of over exaggerated. If you think about what makes orcs and goblins so good and so characterful, they've got this exaggeration of features, and you can pick up the emotion from the players. And this I think was Realm of Path's first or second team maybe, and it blew me away because the sculpts are perfect. Now individually, like, you've got these exaggerated features, you've got these cartoony faces, but you've got some great poses as well. Like, I don't quite know what any of these players are doing, but the cool thing is you've got this this mix of cloth and bone and armor, and they're actually really well armored, which for Blood Bowl means you can put your team colors on there really nicely. Like, they paint themselves. That's what I love about this team. You know that about me is if a team looks very easy to paint, I am interested. And this is exactly the kind of team where you can go, right, let's just chuck some contrast. We want bone contrast, we want metal contrast, and we want fabric contrast, and then we are done, which is wicked. And you're going to end up with a very dynamic, I love that guy, undead team with some really interesting positionals. So they've got the kind of fox jackal people who are the throwers. Then you've got the other jackal people, now cat people, who are the throwers, and the jackal people who are the blitzers, which does set them out actually quite clearly as to be what positionals they are. But the Tomb Guardians are the reason that you play Tomb Kings. they are the Tomb Kings, right? That's what you want. And they are big, imposing models. Again, great detail on the face, great character on the face, but they got a lot of presence and they are chunky boys. Like, you set this team up and these guys look really menacing. They're great fun. This guy, he just properly looks like Skeletor as well, which I love. I absolutely love. I really love this team. It's a really well executed team. And it's a lot of fun to paint. I think I've used some of these as crowd models. They're just excellent. I really love this team. And if you're in the market for a Tomb Kings team that you can probably get on Etsy for quite a cheap amount, I wholeheartedly recommend this one. Which brings us to number 1. And we did this list actually 3 or 4 years ago. But obviously with the new game coming up, it felt like a good opportunity to refresh it. But number 1 has stayed the same, and it is the Sons of Anubis from Punga. This was one of Punga's earliest Kickstarters, and they've done some really great models. They've done some really great sculpts, but I don't know if they've done anything yet that is quite as good as this team. Every single sculpt is perfect. The cartoony element of the characters, like the skeletons, their movements and stuff like that, it doesn't transpose to the faces. So you've got exaggerated motion. You've got exaggerated, like you've got the coach and things like that. You've got these players, one's with a whip, one's got a tablet, but the actual cartoony faces look, if I may say, kind of serious. This is basically Games Workshop quality, Games Workshop style, but being produced way before Games Workshop got anywhere near Tomb Kings. And it is, to this day, I think some of the best models and the best painted teams I've seen on the pitch. Joe Solo's had one of these. At every tournament we go to, you probably will see this Tomb King team because it is exquisite. The great thing about Punga is very similar to Griebo. The quality of the sculpts, excellent, obviously, but the quality of production, everything I've seen from Punga has been really good. And to this day, this is the team I think that people ask the most for, like, hey, STLs. Like, Punga does some great STLs. They just dropped a really wicked undead team. No, vampire team. Well, the first part of it anyway. But people just want this team. So I at some point, I don't know how Punga are going to do it, but I think the clamoring for this team is just unmatched. Now, the great thing about this is, right, you can buy this team now. It's not cheap. It's $100, $100 for the team. Oh, look at that. They got some beautifully painted examples too. But the really great thing here is that any of these teams are fantastic, right? There's not a good one that you kind of go, okay, this one is miles better than the other. If you like the cartoony style, you've got Vortis. If you like the cartoony style, but you like it 3D printed, you've got the Agni option. You've got the Realm of Paths option. If you want premium sculpted, that's not kind of classic Tomb Kings, you've got Griebo. If you want premium sculpted resin stuff that is classic Tomb Kings, you've got the Punga option there. However, I'm not going to say, and I'm not going to take anything away from the fact that I think the Games Workshop team is superb. I think this team is looking absolutely brilliant. And this is going to be one of those really good case stories, depending on the size of the Tomb Guardians, right? Where I think all of the third-party teams that we've looked at, they're going to be really, really, really hard-pressed to beat the Games Workshop one. Games Workshop plastic is excellent. The quality of the sculpts are excellent. Normally speaking, the production quality is unmatched. And this is going to be one of those teams where the value, like, you can get a 3D printed team for 34 quid or whatever it is for a Blood Bowl team now. Is it going to be as good as this? A bit of a coin flip. So I think if you're looking for a Tomb Kings team, I think it might be time to join the Games Workshop hype train here. But if you can't wait for the train, and this train may be late, we don't know. It's not run by Southwest Railways. You might want to wait for this one, or you might want to pick up one of the wicked 3D or third-party ones we've looked at today. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Which ones have I missed out? I know there's a few other teams we looked at historically, but I thought these gave a really good spread, and I thought there were some of the most interesting ones out there. But by all means, if you've got a favourite one, drop it in the comments, because someone's going to come to this video looking for a team, and you could be the one to help them find their next franchise. Anyway, I'm going to wrap up. Thank you very much for joining us. We'll be back soon with more Blood Bowl content. Happy blocking.